Hello guys. Okay, so now we're going to cover 2.1 absolute value equations. Steps we need to follow. The first step is to make sure the absolute value expression is isolated, which means by itself on one side of the equal sign. Okay. Second step, set the inside equal to both the positive and negative from the other side of the equation. You're like, what are you talking about, Miss Wilson? I'll show you with an example. Okay. Third step, solve both equations. Fourth step, write your answer as a solution set. And the reason that we do that is because you can possibly have more than one answer. So you're going to have a number here and a number here. And normally it's going to be one that's positive and one that's negative, but I'm not going to label that just because there's always special situations. Okay, let's look at our first example. Okay, we're looking only absolute values on this side. So now I take what's on the inside and set it equal to a positive and a negative. So I'm going to have x equals positive 2 and x equals negative 2. Because remember, the absolute value is the distance from 0. So we want to know how far we could go from on the number line. If I'm looking at this, okay, how far away would I be able to go to? Well, if I'm at 0, I could go to this way and get to negative 2 and go to this way and get to a positive 2, because this number here is the distance from 0, which is x equals 2 and x equals negative 2. That's where it lands. So my answer would be x equals curvy bracket negative 2, comma 2, because you always write it in order from least to greatest. Right? In order from least to greatest. And this does not look like right. Let me fix that really fast. Okay. And move up a little bit. And here we go. So now let's work some examples. A little bit quicker with not as much explanation, but still making sure that you're understanding. Okay, here we go. Well, I first look to see, is the absolute value symbol the only thing on this side? Yes. So now I set equal to positive and negative scenario. So I have 5z equals 40, 5z equals negative 40. And now I solve each one. So I'm going to divide by 5 on both sides. This cancels and I end up with z equals 8. Divide by 5 here on each side. These cancel and I have z equals negative 8. And my answer is going to be z equals curvy bracket negative 8, comma, positive 8, curvy bracket, and I box my answer. Next, we're going to jump right along, move right along. And I'm going to jump down to number 7. Okay, got a little bit more going on in this box. So notice here is just the positive and negative of that number. We're going to end up with different answers now. Okay, but there's not anything on the outside. So I just take what's inside and set it equal to the positive and the negative scenario. So I have 4n plus 2 equals 34. 4n plus 2 equals negative 34. And we solve. So subtract 2, that zeroes out, it's down, and we have 4n equals 32. Oh, I'm jumping ahead, divide by 4, and n equals 8. Now I'm over here, subtract 2, 4n equals negative 36. Divide by 4, n equals negative 9. So my answer here is going to be n equals curvy bracket negative 9, comma 8 curvy bracket. Remember, if you've got questions, pause and repeat, or pause and come ask. Moving right along to the next page. This is where we're going to start pulling stuff on the outside. Okay, so what if there is stuff outside the absolute value bars? Isolate the absolute value, which means move everything to the other side. Move everything outside to other side by inverse operations. Solving the equation. All right, so the first thing I got to do here for number 9 is subtract 2 from both sides. Notice I'm doing this before I'm setting it to the positive and negative scenario. So now I have absolute value. See, I write them dashed or slanted so that I don't confuse them to be ones. Equals 10. Now the absolute value symbol is isolated. So now I can separate this into C equals 10 and C equals negative 10. So that my answer is, oh, you can't see this green one so well. Sorry, I won't use this anymore. Z curvy bracket, negative 10, comma 10, curvy bracket. You can see when I move myself out of the way. Right. Okay. Next example. Okay, number 11. How is it connected to the absolute value? It was easy when it's just added. Here it's multiplied, so I have to divide. So I'm going to divide by 6, just like if it wasn't in the absolute value symbols. These cancel, and I have absolute value of x equals 4. So this is going to give me x equals 4, x equals negative 4. And my final answer is x equals curvy bracket negative 4, comma 4, curvy bracket. Oh, I'm not boxing my answers. I have to box your answers. Okay, next example. 13. I know I'm working several examples, but this is a little different, and I want to make sure that you see everything. Okay, remember, we got to work what's outside the box first. So I've got to move the 6 first. It's dividing right now. So that means I have to multiply by 6 on both sides. So this is going to give me, when I do this, this cancels here. So I'm going to have 2w minus 4 equals 18. That's absolute value of 2w minus 4 equals 18. So now my next step is where I pull it out into the 2. So now I have 2w minus 4 equals 18. 2w minus 4 equals negative 18. And now we work or solve. Plus 4. So we have 2w equals 22. Divide by 2, and w equals 11. So over here we have plus 4, so we have zeros out, equals negative 14, divide by 2, w equals negative 7. So my solution is going to be w equals curvy bracket negative 7, comma 11 curvy bracket. All right, moving again. If I'm moving too fast, pause it so you can pay attention and make sure that you ask questions. I just don't want the video to be too long, but make sure that you understand and have exposure to all different types of problems. All right, let's look at 16. I know fractions sometimes throw you off kilter, but there's nothing to be afraid of here. It's just a big 2-step problem. If I want to look at this, you can think of it as if it were saying 3/2 x minus 24 equals negative 21. What am I have to do first? to get the x by itself. Add 24, so I do the same thing here. I'm going to add 24 to both sides. This zeroes out, and I now have 3/2 absolute value, 4r minus 4, absolute value equals -21. And then, now I'm going to, oh, wait a minute, I gotta do this calculation. Emily? Let's see how many of you are gonna come tell me that I didn't do this. Okay, so we have negative, that's gonna give me a +3. And now we have to multiply by the reciprocal to make that fraction cancel, because I would technically divide by 3/2, but how do we divide fractions? You multiply by the reciprocal. So we have 2/3, so therefore this cancels out. So therefore these 3's are going to cancel out, and I'm now going to have the absolute value of 4r minus 4 equals 2. And now we separate to the positive and negative. So I have 4r minus 4 equals 2. 4r minus 4 equals -2, and we solve. So we add 4, 4r equals 6. Divide by 4, so r equals 3/2. So add 4, 4r equals 2. Divide by 4, divide by 4 there, and we end up with r equals 1/2. So now we have r equals curvy bracket 1/2 comma 3/2 as my solution set. All right. Now, as usual, we always have special scenarios from when things happen. So the big thing, when it's special cases, can I ever have a negative distance? Because remember, absolute value is talking about the distance from 0. I can't have a negative distance. So therefore, when it's absolute value by itself equal to a negative number, if it's ever equal to a negative number, when it's just the absolute value symbol by itself, it is no solution. So for here, if I'm, okay, I've got to divide by -3, divide by -3. And I have absolute value of 2x plus 1, absolute value equals -7. That's a negative number, so therefore this answer is no solution. The explanation, remember, is the absolute value can not equal a negative number once isolated. Sorry about that sound. Okay, you are to finish your the notes and the classwork homework. Have a great day. Bye.